So hi guys, it's Susie with Adaptive Mobility Services, and I'm excited to have Eric join us today. Eric, you want to introduce yourself? Because what I'll say about you is I know you're an awesome OT DRS extraordinaire, but maybe you have a more official title or
I don't know about all that, but sure. No, my name's Eric. I'm an occupational therapist and driver rehab specialist with Bryn Mawr Rehab's driver rehab program in southeastern Pennsylvania.
Awesome. And I asked Eric if he had a couple minutes to join us because he has recently achieved his ADED DRP status, so driving rehab professional. One of the first few, which is really exciting.
That's good.
So Eric, I was hoping you could just answer a few questions for the other OTs who are interested in knowing more about that. First, so DRP, what does that mean?
So, well, ironically enough, we refer to our driver rehab program as the DRP here at Mainline Health. So it's been a little confusing for us internally, but for our purposes today, the driver rehab professional micro credential is what I was able to earn just a couple of weeks ago after completing previously your education through Adaptive Mobility Services.
Awesome. What would you say is the advantage for getting your DRP for you and your system and your setup?
Sure. So based on the way that ADED is kind of tracking their eligibility for the CDRS, the DRP requires half the amount of hours due to the fact that you're demonstrating competence at an entry level already by completing that material and being able to pass those exams. So compared to needing over 100 hours, I now require 800 and some odd hours in order to be eligible for that next step of credentialing.
Okay, so in some ways it almost fast tracks you, right?
Absolutely.
So if I take a step back and I just explain kind of, if you're not familiar with CDRS or ADED or what's going on here with these different credentials, ADED is the Association for Driver Rehab Specialists. They offer a certification that most of us end up pursuing. That's the CDRS. To become a CDRS, you have to actually start in the field of driving rehab and practice for, like you were saying, several hours, like 1,600 hours or something like that. And there is a matrix, and you should definitely go check out the matrix for the requirements on ADED.net. But the advantage is the DRP was created because it gives us a baseline then and says, Eric has met these standards and he's on his path. So he is a driving rehab professional. It gives you a title, right? So tell us about the process for that. So I was really excited when we were able to get adaptive mobility approved, our education. So part 1 and part 2's education fulfills the requirements for the DRP education, but there's a couple other pieces you need to do beyond that. So what steps did you do to get your DRP?
Sure. So I guess for me, starting back, undergoing the initial education through adaptive mobility, really learning the material and knowing what it takes to enter the field of driver rehab. In the development of the driver rehab professional or micro credential, there is an application fee associated with that micro credential, but once you're able to upload and demonstrate completion of appropriate education, either the ADED course offerings or now Adaptive Mobility's course offerings, you have to take 2 quizzes, one on the code of ethics and one on best practice. So in addition to that education I completed before, really ADED is looking to confirm that it did serve the purpose of educating me to the extent of being able to enter into driver rehab and be a credentialed provider, as opposed to Manny, Mo, or Jack on any street, any town who want to teach driver's education.
Awesome. So part 1 and part 2, you do your application. There's a small fee. You take the 2 quizzes, and then you get your DRP. And I think it's good for 2 years, maybe.
2 years, yeah. Education requirements thereafter.
So, and of course, being familiar with the code of ethics and the best practices is super important. So those quizzes are valuable for reinforcing those baseline skills, like you said. How prepared did you feel for taking those quizzes?
Frankly, very well. I in addition to just reviewing ADED's documents on the code of ethics and their best practice, I'll say it was a tertiary glance. It wasn't an in-depth review of either document after what I had already, gone through and learned the material previously. I felt like it was a really, really easy step to take.
Awesome.
I don't know that I invested much more than 20 or 30 minutes in the quizzes that were required to gain the credentials. So really in a matter of minutes, I went from having the material, practicing, but now having a credential to match that as well.
Fabulous. And I think just to kind of reinforce that, you felt confident reviewing those two different resources and spending a little time with it, because the prior education, our adaptive mobility education, we really do spend a lot of time thinking about applying.
A lot of time, yes.
And of course, as OTs, code of ethics are always guiding us, but then to take it a step further for driving rehab. So that's good. That's good. So those two resources that you felt helped you were the best practice guidelines and the code of ethics, both.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. And then, of course, have you had any cool outcomes out of your DRP? Anything super? Do they have a huge party at your hospital?
I think that there was a casual email announcement that I had a couple more letters after my name now, but beyond that, I'd say it's really business as usual. I think the real value in the DRP micro-credential is from a perspective, being able to confirm that I do in fact have, entry-level skills in this field. There's a way that consumers can verify that person that they're seeing for services is in fact credentialed. And ultimately, in tracking towards obtaining the CDRS full credential, it's now putting me, setting me up well to be able to do that here, hopefully in the next year, as I accrue those remaining hours for eligibility.
Awesome. Well, good luck at getting all your hours in. And
thank you.
As a heads up, if you're exploring your CDRS, I know you already know this, but you need to log your hours. So visiting the ADED website to make sure you understand how to log your hours, what hours count. There's different allocation of hours. You need clinical and behind the wheel pieces. So just make sure you're looking ahead for all that stuff as you build your credentials and your experience. So, well, thanks, Eric. Any final thoughts or words of wisdom, maybe for someone who's just starting to think about all this?
Sure. I'd say for me, jumping into driver rehab was quite literally a jump. I was an inpatient therapist prior to a casual email expressing interest, and within a matter of weeks had undergone adaptive mobility's coursework and took a deep dive. And it's been really valuable and really exciting for me to be able to transition to the field. And I'd say, relatively quickly, have the knowledge, have the skills to be able to, help clients now in a whole new way that before, while valuable of helping them to get home, now I'm able to help them get out of their homes and get back into the community. So for anybody considering it, I think it's a definite jump. It's definitely an exciting one, scary at times, but an exciting one. So definitely encourage that exploration, and of course, adaptive mobility as well. The coursework was invaluable for me. So I can't speak to what ADED's course offerings are. I'm sure they're excellent as well. But if you're looking for somebody who can definitely get you on the right track, Susie's your person.
Oh, thank you. We really appreciate that. And the other thing I'll throw out, like you mentioned, ADED does have introductory courses and other coursework. One piece that we offer that isn't offered currently through ADED is the hands-on training piece. And so if you're an OT and you're looking and thinking about this, we learn so much by doing. And so that 3 days of hands-on training is something unique and something we can talk about blending together, even if you've started your coursework with ADED and you want to come make sure you get the hands-on piece as well. That's what we call as our part 2, take the wheel. So all good stuff.
All good stuff.
Well, thanks, Eric. We really appreciate it, and congratulations.
Thank you, of course.
Eric, OT, DRS, DRP extraordinaire.
Letter. All right, Susie, you take care. Thank you.
Thank you.